to make tawbah, and to treat people with good akhlaq, inshallah. Okay, with that, I want to open up to Q&A because I've taken too much time for my lecture, my short message. But I really appreciate you guys listening so well and being so patient, inshallah. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. If you feel too embarrassed, just start the question by saying "my friend," and then you can start the question. Okay? And we'll all know that it's you. I'm just kidding. Now the person who actually has a question about their friend, we're all going to be like, yes.
What sport did you play? Because you said you played.
I was a 3-sport athlete, but I played the whitest sports on earth. You ready? I played golf. I won state for golf. I swam. I did butterfly in my relay, and I played. Are you ready for this? Water polo. Which you guys laugh, but play water polo. You'll see how tough it is. No football, actually. So the football coaches kept showing up to my games, and they would like keep buying me lunch and stuff, because I was big. They wanted me to play tight end. And they were like, "Hey Abdul, how you doing? How's class? You need a tutor?" I was like, "Why are they being so nice to me?" And then my other coaches were like, "They want you to quit and play football." Right? So I never did though, because I didn't want to like have like concussions and stuff, you know. Even though water polo was pretty intense. So those are the sports I played. How about baseball? No, I didn't play baseball. I had traumatic memories as a kid breaking windows. So, any other questions? Yeah.
Gay marriage just got legalized. How do we as Muslims?
Gay marriage just got legalized, yeah.
How do we as Muslims?
Huh? No? Sorry? Okay, sorry. So gay marriage just got legalized by the Supreme Court, if you guys didn't know. Right? So how do we deal with it, right? How do we respond to this, obviously? This is a very important question, actually, so I would appreciate just a little bit of attention. Because if you yourself don't, necessarily need to know the answer, then you might get asked a question about how Muslims respond. So Sheikh Yasser Qadi actually had a really good answer to this. I feel he wrote it out really well. And it's kind of how I've been feeling about it the entire time, which is basically, as Muslims in this country, we have to live with the understanding that we live in a diverse, pluralistic country. So people drink alcohol, and we know that that's haram, but we don't go into their house and take their Bud Light and throw it away, right? People are, living with their girlfriends and boyfriends. We don't go and make sure, force them to do nikah in their house. All kinds of sins are being committed, and we don't go and try to impose what Islam says, right? But at the same time, we also are very firm about being able to practice our religion and be able to communicate and articulate our beliefs without being shamed. So my personal opinion, and this is also the opinion of my teachers, is we are benefiting from this thing known as a secular democracy, right? We're benefiting from living here, right? And that secular democracy, unfortunately, allows for things like this to happen sometimes. That doesn't mean that we have to agree or support it. In fact, what the beauty of a secular democracy is that it gives us the right to be against it and to voice our concern with it, right? So as Muslims, we should be people who are educated about the legal system, at least to a very little degree, like a surface level, like 101. But we should also be understanding that Islam, from a sacred text level, does not allow, it only allows marriage between between men and women, right? So it's very important for us to understand that. But that doesn't mean that we go around saying that every person who's a homosexual or who's gay is like the worst person on earth and they're like the devil, this and that. It's a struggle, right? It's a struggle, it's a temptation, it's a desire, just like anything else is a desire. And so we address the fact that Islam says that marriage is between men and women, and that's what it holds that to be sacred and as the only truth. But at the same time, we are very comfortable with our belief that we can have discussions about this and communicate that we don't agree with it, inshallah ta'ala, and we don't make people feel like they are inhabitants of the hellfire for this, right? So it's kind of we have to be nuanced and articulate in the way that we think, but we also have to be firm in our belief and communicate it with respect and with adab, inshallah. Good question. Anybody else? Yes?
Why did look at the Kaaba? You mentioned that earlier.
Wallahu ta'ala alam. I don't know. I just know that when we look at the books of fiqh, when we look at Umrah and Hajj and things like that, it's not from the adab of the Umrah of the Prophet Muhammad to look at the Kaaba when he's making tawaf. I don't know. I'll ask my shaykh inshallah and see. But it's a good question. Yes.
Are all non-Muslims considered kafirs?
Are all non-Muslims considered kuffar? Wallahu ta'ala alam. No. because the word kafir, kafara, actually means to cover something up. And what that entails is that the person has to understand what Iman is and then disagree with it. So for example, Abu Jahl, he knew what the Prophet ﷺ was saying was true. He knew completely. There's actually a hadith where he said, what he's saying is true. But he rejected it. Why? Because he was a leader, because he was a businessman, he used to sell idols, and he knew that if he agreed that the Prophet was a prophet, ﷺ, that he would no longer be the leader, and he would no longer be able to sell his idols. So a kafir is somebody who understands that Islam is truthful, but rejects it for whatever reason. There is a term in Islamic texts known as غير Muslim. So they're not Muslim, it means not Muslim, literally. غير Muslim. So it means that they're not Muslim, but they're not rejectors. Kuffar, the better translation is rejector. One who rejects God. Okay? And Muslims are not safe from being kuffar, by the way. Because if a Muslim rejects Allah at some point in their life, they've fallen into that, right? So when Allah talks to Ya ayyuhal kafirun, right, or Ya ayyuhal kafirin, or oh you kuffar, He's not only talking to people who don't believe in Islam, He's talking to people who can have the propensity to reject God. So
can a non-Muslim who's not a kafir enter heaven, or we don't know?
Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be the judge for them based on the knowledge they had of Him and based on their fitrah. That's what we learned in our books of Aqidah. So if a non-Muslim passes away, for example, it depends on what relationship they had with Allah. A good example of this is the Najashi, right? So in the first hijrah of the Muslims to Abyssinia, the king was actually publicly a Christian. Like he openly talked about his Christianity, okay? And he was an African king, and he said, I'm Christian, I'm Christian, I'm Christian. When he died, when he passed away, the Prophet ﷺ prayed what is known as Salat al-Ghaib, which is janazah but in absentia. You only pray janazah on Muslims. So the companions were confused. They're like, why are you praying Salat al-Ghaib for the Najashi? He said, I was given revelation that he died Muslim. The purpose of that story is to teach us that while it is our job to teach people about Islam and to educate people about Islam, when it comes to their akhirah, we don't make any definitive statements about any people. We can say that kuffar are going to hellfire, because that's what Allah says. We can say that Muslimin are going to Jannah eventually, because what Allah says. But we can't say that this person is going to hellfire.
So we can't just classify somebody as a kafir.
No. In fiqh reasons, for marriage and things like that, we can. But in akhirah reasons, we can't. You understand the difference?
Can't find it.
So for example, a Muslim woman, this is going to open up a whole other can of worms, okay? A Muslim woman can only marry a Muslim man, okay? So for dunya reasons, if somebody is not expressly a Muslim, a male, he can't marry a Muslim sister, okay? But that doesn't mean that we know where he's going in the afterlife. So there's a difference, right? So for practical reasons in this life, we can say this person is not Muslim, they have rejected Islam, they're not Muslim. But we can't say, I know now he or she is going to hellfire, because we don't know what's in their heart. We just judge them based on their actions, right? Does that make sense? Okay.
Can you make dua for a non-Muslim?
You can make dua for their hidayah, inshallah, and their barakah, inshallah. Yeah, inshallah. Yeah, sorry, what? Okay. Yeah, generally you can. The only thing you shouldn't make dua for with regards to people who died, knowingly without Islam, is you should not make dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant them necessarily Jannah, because if they rejected it. But you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to treat them with justice and give them what they deserve, inshallah.
A non-Muslim who's not a kafir, can you make dua for them to enter Jannah, or?
Make dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant everyone justice, inshallah, and give them their due justice, inshallah, or give them His mercy, inshallah. Let's go for a couple questions from the sisters, inshallah, and then we'll come back. So if there's any questions back there. Remember the my friend trick. It's a very good one. Yeah, they have a wireless mic, so.
No? One.
Any questions or no?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum.
alaikum.
My question is, how do we get adults specifically to stop being judgmental and have a big heart for our children? mashallah, those kids that come to the masjid, obviously they're great because they are coming to the masjid. And we have a great imam, which you know, he's always encouraging all of us as parents to bring our kids in. But many times we face many challenges, whether it's with youth workers or adults that come to the masjid. The least bit the kids do, they are condemned. They are pushed around. To the point where I've heard adults tell them not to come to the masjid again. And you yourself talked about being judgmental is one of our most destructive habits. How do we stop all of that, and how do we change this mentality in our communities? Because I'm not just talking about this community, I'm talking about Muslim communities across. We don't have the patience, the heart to take these kids in, to guide them. I'm a social worker myself, and we usually work with destructive teens. Within a year, we get them back on track, and they start working for us. They start helping us guide other kids. But for some reason in the Muslim community, it's a bit difficult to get through and,